This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Here are your hosts, Dr. Tim Slecker and Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, educated educators talking education.
Yeah, that's what we do. Every Saturday across the civic media stations, it's Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. Yes, that was a little hand clap if anybody heard that right now. That's how excited I am on this Saturday, getting to hang out. Johnny and Jess, my two favorite friends, buddy people, just people I love spending all my waking moments with. Jess, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing great after that, Tim.
There you go, right?
I love hanging out with you too, man. You're my
See?
favorite educated educator, aside from Johnny, who is also my favorite educated educator.
Nice. Johnny, how you doing, man?
Tim, I'm doing great. It's another great week. We're ending the month, first month of the new year. And, I got to spend a lot of it with future teachers. So I'm spoiled all week long because, they have such great questions and so many exciting things that they're gearing up to do in classrooms around this country. So I'm inspired, man. And
Nice.
and this week we talked a ton about, some really interesting stuff, kind of akin to your favorite topic right now.
Uh-oh.
We were talking about AI in class and how it's changing our classrooms, our teaching, some of its limitations, some of the things it's really helping us be better teachers, utilizing it and better learners. So today's conversation, man, I am so giddy about it. I'm stoked. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into our guests today.
Let's not wait. And we've talked about it. I'm so glad you kind of brought that up because thinking right here on Busted Pencils, though, you know what? We might be educated educators who talk education, and we like to kind of dig into AI. We like to tease each other about who's pro. But, I tell you what, being an educated educator talking education, I know when I need more education. And I tell you, these are the guests. They are disruptors, innovators, and AI educators without ever setting foot in a traditional classroom. Myra Roldan, Leah Manoni are the powerhouse sisters behind UnDesto AI, a company dedicated to helping businesses navigate the fast evolving AI landscape with ethical, human centered strategies. Myra, she's a leading AI integration expert and has worked on everything from shaping AI policies at the White House to building tech competency frameworks recognized by the World Economic Forum. Leah, a digital strategist and tech ethicist, explores the dark corners of AI, deepfakes bias, and the unseen risk of automation. Together, they're educating industries and on the responsible use of AI, proving that learning doesn't just happen in schools. Welcome to Busted Pencils, Myra Roldan, Leah Manoni, UnDesto. Welcome, you two.
Thank you,
Tim.
That was a great
so nice.
intro.
I know. That was fantastic.
Hey, well, I might have had a little help writing that, just saying. I mean, I just, chat has been actually thinking about this. I'm so glad you guys are here. We're going to talk a lot about your company and things like that. But I mean, for me, doing this show now, it's been over 10 years, and writing up an intro like that took me, a long time in the past. And today now, using AI, I write a quick draft. I then grab some information about you guys. I took some stuff off of LinkedIn. I took some stuff on, and I'm like, help me then rewrite this intro. And I think it does a pretty darn good job to the point that I feel like I don't know, I feel like I'm ethically using AI. Myra and Lee, you want to dissect whether I'm using it ethically to do that?
I don't know. I think ethically is a gray line there, right?
Okay. Are you doubt am I being unethical?
No, you're not being unethical.
Okay.
You used it for the power of good, right? To get some descriptions about us. I think that a lot of the challenges when you think about ethics, like we can just dive into it. So Lee and I have some very interesting conversations around AI. So as you mentioned, Lee and I are sisters. There's
Mhm.
actually an interesting fact about us is that we are 20 years apart. I am 20 years Leah's senior. So
Mhm.
the gray hair gives it away. Leah is my little Nepo child. We work together at, UnDesto AI. I'm the CEO and founder, and she's my head of operations. Um, but we're cut from the same cloth and we have kind of the same thinking. So we go into like these real deep conversations around like ethics and like what's going on with AI in the future. And so I would say, Tim, that your use of AI was neither ethical or unethical, right? It was just what everyone
I
else is doing, right?
Yeah. I used it to help me out there, in producing because now I can do even more time reading and thinking more about the show instead of all of that time that would have gone into writing an introduction. I can now lean into the kind of more creative parts of putting together, a live show like that. And I think that's the way that Johnny and I have talked about it with students. Before we get there though, too, let's start though right away with UnDesto AI and let you two kind of give us a little background on so what's going on with UnDesto? Where did it come from? I mean, White House, Myra, the White, like not the White House
The White
across the
House
street, not the White House across the street from me, not my neighbor.
and the United Nations. Can't forget that.
Yeah, I mean, so give us some background.
Yeah, so let me see. So I'm gonna keep mine short. So I've been an engineer for I would always say 20 plus years because I don't want to
Mm.
age myself. Um, and yeah, I've had the opportunity of working on some really interesting projects. I worked at Amazon for 7 years, where I led some really interesting projects. One of them was my last project was an AI project where I um, led a program where we saw a need to provide upskilling to faculty at community colleges and
Mm.
universities on AI. So a lot of times, and you both know this, that once you're in higher education as an educator, there aren't many opportunities for you to continue to build your your background and your knowledge, especially with technology changing so quickly.
Mhm.
This isn't something like, the iPhone where you pick it up and you like, you can learn how to like do a few things. So, yeah.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so, we worked on educating educators and making sure that they were equipped to teach
Well,
AI.
and that is and great. And, you're actually talking. We have some listeners. In fact, one of our sponsor partners, AQ, the Association for College and University Educators, Jonathan Gurko, the founder there, really came at it from the standpoint of going, "Hey, guess what? Higher education faculty need to have a place where they can get better." And so I'm sure Jonathan, right now, listening to the show, is like, "That's what I was talking about,
We
Tim."
were just talking about this the day before yesterday, right, Myra?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Leah, continue then.
Oh, we were just basically talking about that educators need the ability, pretty much just continued education needs to be mandatory for educators,
Well, I know Johnny
especially
needs
with
it.
technology advancing the way that it has been.
Johnny.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And, we've kind of had conversations on here back and forth over the past year or so, discussing AI and, landed on some common ground that it's here. It's part of almost
Hmm.
everyday life in most careers, if not all, not to sound so
Hmm.
like hyperbolic about it. It's really, being integrated into changing the labor of all the professions that we are all in or close to or our neighbors are, but for all of our students, and I teach teachers, it's been just what Leah was just saying, it's been part of our learning together, how is AI part of our classrooms? How is it helping us teach? How is it helping our students learn? And, what's that like? Because there's the initial scare where everyone's saying AI is coming and there won't be any teachers in the future. And we're like, no, no, no. We're still going to have teachers in classrooms. But I'll tell you what, they're already looking much different than they've ever looked in the past. And that's kind of an exciting thing, but it can also be a scary thing. I mean, guys like
Yeah.
me, I'm excited about it, but some of my students are like, oh no, what's it going to be like? So I'm just interested in picking both of your brains a bit about, the way it's changing labor, especially for teachers. And my students who are like, oh no, are they really replacing us with computers?
Yeah. I think that, we take it from the standpoint that educators need to understand AI before they can
Definitely.
even, you know, talk about it or teach it and educate students on like the impact it's going to have.
Leah, you had
Absolutely.
a yeah, go for it, Leah.
I was going to say that, most of most of the kids today are utilizing AI
Mhm.
constantly. And if
Yeah.
teachers don't understand it, best of luck.
Well, best of luck, and I think it's one of these things. I've been really seeing this is like and some kids and some teachers and a lot of us maybe aren't using it wisely and in fact not using it going back to ethically because they haven't had the opportunity to think about this, to talk about this, to really have experts like the two of you kind of come in and have discussions with us to let us know like what is it that we're wrestling with here. Is there a legitimate fear of some form of quote maybe it's not replacement, but is a teacher's job going to change? Is that the and I think that reality is to say these are those conversations that we should be having intentionally, very much on purpose, so that we can be educated as this comes forward, because kids are going to use it
Right.
regardless. And we as educators, let's help them understand how to use it, when not to use it, and when it could be potentially even dangerous. It's Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Our guest tonight, Myra Roldan, not tonight, midday, Leah Minoni, UnDesto AI. When we get back, though, a little bit more educating the educators.
Word on the street today, Minority Report. Progress democracy is now.
Ah, it's Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk, educated educators talking education, and the educated educators are getting an education. Today, our guest, Myra Roldan, Leah Minoni, the company UnDesto AI. Had a little bit of beginning there talking about education, but wanted to give you two, though, the opportunity. UnDesto AI, let our listeners know. I mean, what's going on? AI. How are you? What is this company? This startup company? You had spent all this time with Amazon. We're at the White House, but Myra and Leah, if you want to jump in and tell us about UnDesto and what UnDesto does.
Yeah, definitely. So we are a boutique AI agency, and we help companies figure out their AI readiness and implement AI responsibly and ethically, um, ensuring that they're doing it also frugally. So,
Mm,
um, just some quick facts. So, 72% of CEOs admit that they don't have an AI strategy or policy in place for their organizations.
mm,
And a lot of these companies that are implementing AI they're prioritizing AI projects over AI governance. And so they end up having to backtrack because they don't have the guardrails in place and their infrastructure may not be ready, their data may not be ready. And so that's where we can help both, if they're taking the right approach, we can help them there, or if they're
Mhm.
backtracking and having to do some rework, we can help there also. But the interesting thing about us, and one of the things that where we stand out is that, I don't know if you know this, but did you know that Latina women only make up 1% of AI professionals? I am the 1%, right?
What? You get to be the 1% finally.
Yeah,
Oh,
but you
that's
know what? So
yeah,
I
not
always
that one. I know.
Yeah, I always say, like, this is a time when being the 1% is a problem and not a
Yeah.
privilege.
Yeah.
And Black women make up less than 1%. And so being an AI company led by a Latina female and, Latina female sisters,
Mm.
we're kind of a unique niche market here because not only do we differentiate in that factor, I've also been in the AI space for 12 years.
Mm.
So I did not, ChatGPT came out and I did not become an instant expert and started selling myself as like, let me help you build the latest
Mm.
prompt, right?
Mm.
And so Leah is very process oriented. And Leah, do you want to talk a little bit about like what we've been doing with our newest AI app release?
Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
kind of what Myra was saying is that everyone's trying to jump on the bandwagon of AI, but they're doing it very rapidly without taking into consideration the risks, um, their data, the safety of their data, and things of that nature. So I developed an app for the company that it it helps to test AI readiness for a business. So it asks them a series of questions and provides an assessment as to whether or not they're truly ready to integrate AI into their workforce. And if they already have it, it gives them an idea as to um, where they might have setbacks. And it's very important. Companies don't realize how much risk they're they have when they're integrating AI without a plan and without understanding it and making sure that their employees are actually upskilled enough to use it um, ethically and responsibly. So that's where we come in and we help to mitigate that.
So with that, then, and I know it's just a startup, but has there been a place, or when I'm just thinking about somebody who went too far, and are they willing to admit that, like, oh my God, Myra, Leah, we are in over our heads, help us, or is that your job to say you guys are in over your heads?
So it's interesting. I would say I've had so many conversations with CEOs. I think some of my favorite, and this isn't just one. This is kind of a template of what I get. Is I'll have a conversation with a CEO, and they'll be like very proud to share, like, I've been using ChatGPT to do some forecasting and to write some documents and to like do all this stuff, like around our business to like figure out how we could integrate it into our business. And so I'll pause and I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm excited that you've used ChatGPT. Are you using a personal version of ChatGPT on the web? Are you paying, for the $20, or do you have an enterprise version? And a lot of them will tell me, well, no, I'm just using the free version.
The free
And
version.
I have to tell them, please stop. Stop what you're doing, because what you're doing is you're putting your business data out into the ether with no control.
Mm.
There is no delete button once you upload those documents, and the uh, the GPT can go in and it's already learned your information, and it can just, you don't know where that output's going to go somewhere else. So I just wrote a book and published it, basically on this premise. So that book just published yesterday, and it's called "The Curious Case of Chatterbot GPT."
I saw that
Yeah.
on LinkedIn that you just released that, and in fact, we'll make sure that we also put a link to that in the show notes,
Oh,
so
that's
that
great.
people can have that. Yeah, because
Thank you.
it's so exciting. Okay, so yeah, and you know what? What you just said, I didn't know that until even me. I took a course, and it was a LinkedIn course and a learning course, but it was very simple. It's like, hey, if you're using the free version, you're sharing it with the world. And but you know what though, if you step up, then you are, more protected by even just the $20 version. I said more, not fully, right? Because Myra, I saw anybody watching this on the YouTube said Myra just told Tim, you're not that smart, dude.
Did my eyes now actually, it's just that if you read the fine print, it says that they won't use your data to train the GPT. Um, they don't have to because you're doing it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh man, Johnny, I know we're coming up already on this one, but I gotta let you jump in here.
Well, I'm just taking this in because I love this conversation. I'm a big fan of like learners leading learners. And when thinking about being a teacher and how fast and how much we're learning about AI to be the best learners leading learners we can. So I absolutely love this conversation. More questions to come. I mean, I'm excited about, Myra's book. I already started typing it in to get my copy of it.
Oh,
But we have Myra and
funny.
Leah here, and this is a big gift. So listeners, we appreciate you listening. But I mean, I'm just giddy with this opportunity to be a learner here and to learn.
And there it is. And before we go, though, 608-557-8577. That's the mailbag, and the text line 855-752-4842. And man, more with Myra and Leah when we get back.
Not the religious lunatics or fundamental extremists. It's their fight to lose. I'm a modern anarchist, a punk rock existentialist who wants to make the whole world coexist.
Oh, of course. Well, I don't know if Johnny and I will, but Myra and Leah will definitely rock you. It's Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk, educated educators talking education, actually getting an education today. Myra Roldan, Leah Manoni, the company UnDesto AI. Hey, if you're a business out there and you're listening to Busted Pencils and you're a little too much in over your heads on the AI stuff, check it out though. You want to call Myra and Leah because they can help you out there. Johnny, what this made me think back to last Saturday's show with Jason Bucheri, up there north in Canada, where he kind of jumped on got on the fence between our argument of, Tim's a big worship at the cult of AI and Johnny's the anti AI. And Jason was like, you know what? I'm going to sit in the middle here and say the biggest thing we need to do with AI is study it. Study it. And I was wondering, putting that to Myra and Leah, is there wisdom in the study it approach? Myra, what do you think?
I would say that I just struggle with the philosophical approach to learning, um, because philosophically we can all discuss a bunch of topics,
Okay.
right? It does not having a philosophical standpoint does not mean that you understand the technology.
Hmm.
I think that what we need to do is understand the use cases, the applications, and how it's going to impact society. right? So if you look at it from that standpoint, how is it going to impact jobs? What are the skills that people need to start developing? Um, how is it going to change education? How is it going to change business? How is it going to change government? How is it going to change society in general? I think that if you're talking about studying that, yes, but also beyond studying it, right? It's like, what do
You
we
need to use
do?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, like what do we do, right? What do you do with it?
Leah,
Yeah.
you saw it. I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. You
She
again.
snuck that in. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like trying to be sneaky over there. She snuck it in and then try to play coy.
Yeah.
Well, it was just interesting because I was reading, I've read plenty about schools banning AI from the classroom altogether because teachers are very concerned about students using it to cheat, and things of that nature. But in reality, I feel that AI needs to be implemented in the classroom as much as possible because, as we were kind of saying before, students are using it anyway. You're not going to stop them. So might as well use it as a tool in the classroom. You can use it to have kids debate against the AI. Have the kids do fact checking on the AI. There's plenty of ways you can implement it in the classroom, especially. Um,
Johnny, I said Johnny's up nodding away, man. He's got the big smile on.
I mean, yeah, I love this. I mean, that is, I echo that. I love hearing it. And Tim, you touched on this earlier in the show, and for our listeners, I think this is the important thing: is like when we want to learn about something, especially like AI. Neither Tim or I quite experts, although Tim's been studying it, so he's on the pathway to some mastery of where it intertwines with the craft of teaching. And I'm getting there. Last semester, really started working with my students on, how would we use it in our classrooms as elementary teachers? How do we utilize it as high school teachers? How does it help us, be better teachers? And that meant learning about AI, with which both Myra and Leah have recommended here. And so, man, I keep saying it, but I'm excited because here we have experts. Here we have some folks who have dedicated their craft to understanding, how to implement AI, have studied kind of its limitations and its possibilities and potentials, and can make recommendations for all of our learning. So we're lucky. I mean, we're honored to have both Myra and Leah here, and the work that they do with UnDesto, because we want to learn. Like you're saying, it is part of our students' everyday lives now as students. I have no doubt that it will be part of their work as they go into the community,
yeah.
and follow their passions in their careers. And it's like, so here we are learning about it. And just a little plug, if you haven't listened to the show with Jason Bukhari, we had, our Canadian buddy up there talking with us about AI, and we tried to get him to decide whether he was pro Johnny, who, historically I've been against AI, and Tim's been pro AI. And Jason reminded us, hey, let's pause for a minute and let's say AI is neither good nor bad, but let's take time to really think about like where it fits into the very best we can offer all of our students in our classroom and how it adds to that.
Mhm.
And so here we
Agreed.
are doing that with Leah and Myra, who do that in all kinds of ways with all different industries, one of those industries being education. So we're hearing it. Learn about AI. It's part of our students' lives, it's part of our careers. And Myra, you're nodding. So I'm going to kick it to you. Our listeners, a lot of educators out there and people leading teachers or parents who have kids in schools, you know, so we
Yeah.
shouldn't just be afraid of AI.
Yeah, I think that one of the interesting things is that I like that comment about AI is neither good nor bad, right? AI has no feeling, it has no emotion. It's a computer,
Mm.
right? Where it's good or bad is how people use it and the
Mhm.
intention that you have behind that use. There will always be malicious actors, right?
Mhm.
So there's always people that ride that gray line. There's, the people who are on the pure white side where like it's all good. And then you have people who are on the dark side that are like, dark web kind of deal. And so
It's
I think
true.
that for educators, my biggest point is that you need to become a lot smarter than your students are as far
Mm,
as the AI goes, because especially as early as elementary school,
mm,
right? Because kids nowadays have a tablet in hand at all times or a
right.
phone. They have access to a supercomputer right in their pocket. And think about how long it took us to adapt to a smartphone. Not long,
Mm,
right? How quickly did our addiction grow to a smartphone, and our dependency on it? And kids now have ChatGPT on a device, right? And so, as educators, putting a policy out saying like we're not allowing it, you're just encouraging. That's like telling a
Right.
kid not to, like, that's like
Don't eat the
telling someone, yeah,
candy.
don't eat the
yeah.
candy, and they slowly take the wrapper off in front of you as they stick the candy in their mouth. You know what I mean?
But it's also doing a disservice to them, right? Because
Mhm,
they are, like you were saying before, Johnny, is that they are going to have AI in the future, that their jobs are going to involve AI in the future.
mhm.
They need to learn about it. They need to understand it. They need to understand the risks and how to use it responsibly, ethically. They need to learn these things. It's not going away. So we need
Yeah.
to just adapt.
Yeah, and I think for educators, it's a matter of finding. There are programs that are starting to pop up. When I was at Amazon, I started a program. I now belong to the Applied AI National Applied AI Consortia for Community Colleges. It's a new organization that popped up. It's funded by the National Science Foundation, and part of the remit is education for educators, educating
Mm,
educators on AI.
Mhm.
And so I think that there needs to be funding applied towards allowing educators to upskill
mm,
so they can then integrate these AI lessons into their course. Not just integrating the tool and saying we're using it, but integrating, like, being able to teach students about the ethics and the responsibility and how to
Mhm.
use it and what are the pitfalls and kind of like all that other stuff. And a lot of it could be bringing like industry experts in. Like, if you
mm,
don't have, bring an industry expert in.
mm,
I always, um a lot of educators that I've met, a lot of them, some of them believe in being the sage on the stage. And you know, that
mm.
doesn't fly any longer.
No.
No,
It- okay, so we're talking. It just
That was unison.
yeah, well,
we're
I
both
think
no more
Johnny and
sage on the stage. No more
yeah,
sage on the stage.
no
Hey, I
more-
love Myra that you brought up sort of the ethical component to it, and I know Leah is an ethicist of technology and especially of AI. I'm just now my curiosity is piqued a bit, and I was wondering, could you talk about some of the ethical dimensions or tensions? Just a few, like of the big ones with
Yeah,
AI and maybe education or even industry, because everybody learning is going to industry, right? So the
yeah.
big ones that stand out to you about it, maybe just name them, a few of them for us.
Yeah. So we have, like, okay, so humans are biased. AI
Mhm.
is trained on human data. Our historical data is biased. So therefore, the outputs that you're going to get are biased unless the algorithms are, kind of set up in a way where they can they're not going to eliminate bias, but they're going to reduce bias.
Hmm.
Um, that's the biggest one. The second one is around hallucination. So AI still hallucinates. And what that means is generative AI is a text predictor. That's
mhm,
exactly what it
Mhm.
is. So it's predicting the next word in a sequence, and it does it based on numerical weights. And so it's not that it's wrong; it's just that that's what it thinks. Historically, that's usually, when you're not giving it enough context and data, it's going to make stuff up based
mm.
on to make a complete statement. So it's a text predictor. And we have a huge dependency on AI right now. People became very dependent very quickly. You ask someone to write something on their own, a lot of people aren't able to do it nowadays.
Okay.
Wow.
And that's
And
not
you
even
think
getting into the really nefarious stuff,
Yeah.
I was
Uh-oh.
gonna
like
say
deep fakes,
Leah,
voice
Leah,
cloning.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
Leah, give us
Yeah.
give us a nefarious one here.
Oh, well, like I just said, it's deep fakes, voice cloning. I mean, the scams that are going around now where people are actually cloning voices of people's loved ones and having them call and having it call them to try to solicit money.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy the
Ridiculous.
things that are
Yeah.
starting to happen, and this is only beginning. It's only the beginning. It's only going to get better with as technology improves, and by better I mean worse, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
But what an invitation to the importance of being familiar with it, understanding its possibilities and potentials, and involving ethics in that, right? So
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
we're learning about it and we're teaching our students to make sure that they feel confident and they can understand those uses so that they can navigate it both as people engaging with the tool, but also maybe not even knowing that it's being engaged with them. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I love that there's that both of you emphasize the importance of those ethical dimensions to our learning about AI. It's like, hey, don't just implement the tool, learn about it in all the ways.
Yeah. And
Right.
also like engage students in critical thinking because
Hmm.
with deep fakes and all of these nefarious uses, they need to be able to think critically and analyze what they're looking at to be able to decipher like, is it
What's
real or not
real?
real? Yeah, what's real?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I
If you
think
go on
that
social media today, you'll see dozens and dozens and dozens of photos that people are trying to pass off as true. And it's so crazy to me reading some of the comments, and people have absolutely no idea that they're generated that they're generated images. And like I said, it's only going to get more. I don't want to say better. I don't
ah,
want to say it's going to get better again, but
It's going to get
it's going to
worse.
get
Yeah.
worse.
if you're out there listening, if you're really good at this, I'm looking for somebody to give the deep fake of the thin and in shape younger Tim. Because oh, our guests, Myra Roldan, Leah Minoni, UnDesto, every link to Myra's book. Leah, we're going to put some links too to her blogs that she's been putting out. UnDesto, the company, make sure that you find this, check it out. Myra, Leah, thanks for busting pencils.
Thank you for
Yeah, this is
having
fun.
us.
Thank
This
you.
was a lot of fun.
All right, and Tim and Johnny. Nah, we're not gonna duke it out. But when we get back, though, watch out.
Bye, guys.
We're back. It's busted pencils, and it's fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. I think the educated educators just got themselves an education. My
Get yourself
goodness.
an education.
Myra Roldan, Leah Minoni, the company is UnDesto AI. Man, Johnny, just kind of laying it out there for us in a way that I feel like our little argument or, Tim, all AI, Johnny, I feel like now we might need to progress out of that simple yes no conversation.
Well, I love it, Tim. I think so. I think we're at a full ceasefire here. But I call it more a convergence by recommendation of our Canadian mediator,
Yeah.
Jason Bucheri. And we called in the big guns tonight, Leah and Myra. And that's right up my alley, Tim. I love where we are converging
Mm.
on that reminder of Jason gave us. Hey, boys, let's not make it good or bad. Let's not say, hey, I'm against it or for it. Let's pause and put our professional identities aside. And what I mean by that is come at it with humility
Mm.
and not maybe the hubris that Johnny was bringing, saying, well, I can type just as fast. I can write an article faster than AI can get one published. I mean, I'm already realizing I probably would lose that battle. So some humility is in order. But Tim, I love where we're converging. And I absolutely love where Myra is coming at this with her experience, in software design and all the expertise she brings to what technology offers, not only industry, but education. And then Leah as an ethicist and so much more. But the lens they're bringing as we are pausing to say, let's learn about AI. I love the conversations we're having because, we talk all the time here on Busted Pencils about talking to our neighbor,
Mm,
but also sometimes it's super important to ask the people we know are experts in something
yeah.
about what their expertise is, right? When I want to learn more about the repairs happening on my car, I talk to my mechanic friends,
Mm.
right? And they tell me, yep, that's actually a transmission problem. Glad you're getting it fixed, and I trust the experts. And that's important. So here I am, a skeptic of the impacts of AI on culture and society, but having two people who are also bringing that skepticism to the topic and saying, hey, this is what we focus on, the ethical
Mhm,
dimensions, the ways
mhm.
we can implement this, how it's changing our labor, how it's changing for us educators, our classrooms. So loved learning from and with, Leah and Myra tonight, Tim. And I love that we're converging on something here. Here we are modeling democracy,
Nice.
when we're talking about education here on Busted Pencils.
Well, and it was a great discussion. And in fact, want to have them back on because they've got so much to offer, about this. And as you said, whether it's the ethicist from Leah's standpoint, the long time, as Myra said, the 20 plus years working in the industry, and also too, has worked in academia herself, being an associate professor. And then Johnny also pointing out that the work that they are doing with community college faculty, pointing that out and thinking about that because, yeah, if we're not going to, as educators, dig deep into learning these things, I mean, then we're really not doing our jobs. And so, thinking about this, yeah, when our guest from a few weeks back, Brian Gonzalez from Intel, he was the one who was like, he sent me a note going, "Hey Tim, you've got to meet these sisters. You got to have them on Busted Pencils." I was like, okay. And I had this, and I did a screening with Leah and Myra, and it just came across as going like, okay, it's neither about Tim and Johnny being wrong or right. It's that Tim and Johnny got a lot more to learn. And let's bring Leah and Myra here to actually help me and you, and maybe possibly Johnny, modeling for other educators out there that, you know what? Um, yeah, our little 1 year kind of feud really actually kind of limited the realities of how much more there is there. And so having them like that, John, I see you want to jump in,
Well,
man,
well,
right?
yeah, Tim. You know what I love about this is, that it's okay to disagree. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really most important to be open to information. And there is a vast sea of information out there that includes misinformation. And so here we are, Tim, both of us saying, hey, we disagree, but let's figure out more about this because there's something important about this AI stuff. And we're landing on a real generative dialogue that I would say is moving us towards the common good for public education. Hey, AI is here. It's part of our lives. It's part of our students' lives, right? And now, Tim,
Hey, well, you know what though? And as I said, it ain't gonna uninvent itself. Just pointing that out there. And now for your moment of zen. I have no right to despair. I insist on hope. Hey, check us out. Come back. Homeroom on Monday. Class will be in session Wednesday with the math anxiety diffuser, Aditya Nagrath, and we'll wrap up with free throws and face-offs. Hey, make sure you subscribe to the Busted Pencils podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Also, if you're doing that, drop us a review there. We'd want to hear about it. Yeah, even if you got a little bit more to say. There's so much going on out there. And just thinking about this, did you like us bringing people on like Leah and Myra to help create more of an education. We want to know about that because we've got guests out there and we just want to expand this. Of course, it's a teaching and learning show. And so, whenever we can bring guests on for our listeners that can add something to us, Johnny, I'm going to give everybody a little bit of homework, though. Hey, if you're really into AI, what is the difference between narrow, general, and super intelligence? It's Busted Pencils, everybody. Thanks for busting pencils.